HD1, New York.
The opinions expressed in this program do not necessarily represent the views of NYC Media Group, its management, or any entity affiliated with either.
It's the longest-running daily radio broadcast in the United States. He is a multi-award-winning talk show host, documentary filmmaker, journalist, and author. This is your source for bold discussions, provocative interviews, and controversial commentaries. The one place for true progressives, The Gary Null Show. And now, live from New York City, your host, Gary Null.
Hi everyone, I'm Gary Null and I'd like to welcome you to this program. Today we are continuing with our Conversations with Remarkable Minds series. Today we're going to talk with Dr. Lester Brown. The subject will be everything about the environment, not just as we are engaging it today, but what is most likely to occur over the next 5 to 10 years. And what can we as individuals do? What must we do as a government? State, local, national. But what happens if our governments decide that, well, there will be talk about doing things, there'll be committees formed, but there won't be any real change, not for the time period when the politicians are in office. Leave that for the future. But as long as we say we're studying it, we're serious about it, they put the political spin on it. What does it mean? What's going on? Can the environment hold off collapsing in different areas from tipping until we had the political will to demand change? Every time we want to change something in the environment that would help the environment and help us, you see all these voices raised saying, no, it's anti-business and you would cause too much suffering to the bottom line of corporations. As a result, it doesn't get done. After all, look how many years we argued, is global warming real? And we should have known that a long time ago. We should have had a consensus. We should have already been 15 years further along than what we are. Lester Brown is going to talk about this and also food shortages and how those food shortages could bring down civilization as we know it. And why aren't we paying attention as Americans to what's going on around the rest of the world? It's amazing when I travel around the world and I talk with just average people, especially in Europe. They're way ahead of us on living a more green existence and having commuter trains that are low cost and easy to use and fast and efficient and clean. We're behind them on all of these levels, so we're going to talk about that. Later in the program, Obama is no FDR, much less Gandhi, according to Eric Stoner from Common Dreams. And Mike Adams, the Health Ranger, naturalnews.com, just sent an email out. I thought it was interesting, and I'm going to ask you to give your feedback. Do you believe he is accurate or not on this? On what happens if we pass the current health care legislation that would then make it against the law for you not to buy health insurance, and you could go to jail and be fined $25,000 if you didn't buy health insurance from one of these companies. I'll go to his commentary and then your feedback. And then, of course, health and nutrition. Let's first go over and say hello to my guest, Lester Brown. Dr. Lester Brown, nice to have you with us today. Hello, Dr. Brown? Can you hear me, Dr. Brown? We'll try to get him back on the phone if we lost him. Let me just give you a little background on Dr. Brown. Dr. Brown has been called one of the world's most influential thinkers today. In India, he is known as the guru of the environmental movement. He earned his degrees in agriculture, economics, and public administration from Rutgers, and University of Maryland, and Harvard. And besides living in rural India, where he became intimately familiar with the relationships between population and food supply, he has also served as an international advisor to the Secretary of Agriculture. He founded the World Watch Institute, and that's a very influential watch organization on global environmental issues and the publisher of the State of the World and World Watch Reports. Dr. Brown has authored or co-authored 50 books, and in 2001 he founded the Earth Policy Institute, which is devoted to the creation of a roadmap for achieving an environmentally sustainable society and economy. and he now has received over 40 honorary degrees and awards. Nice to have you with us today, Dr. Brown.
Gary, I'm just barely able to hear you for some reason.
Okay, we will pot our mics up. I'm asking engineers to get without it overmodulating. Are you on a regular telephone?
Yes.
Okay. We're overmodulated there. All right. We're going to try to call back and get a better connection. Now, he is also the author of Lester Brown's Plan B 4.0, Mobilizing to Save Civilization, which has just been published. So we're going to go on this topic right now, assuming we can get a good connection. I might mention that we have 2 more individuals tomorrow on the program on Conversations with Remarkable Mind, making a total of 10 in a row. And these are added some 70 others. So we have all these great minds on our archives you can listen to. Hopefully you can hear me now, sir.
I can hear you well now.
Good. Okay. Let me give you the overview, and please take your time. There's no rush, there's no breaks, and go into great depth on your answers, okay?
Okay.
Because we have an enormous audience listening all over the world, 160 countries, plus on Voice America. And a lot of them are not familiar with what you're going to be talking about, so we need to kind of fill in the gaps for them. Here's my first issue. What are some of the most urgent myths being held by policymakers and corporations and the public that are preventing us from really tackling the many environmental crises confronting us? And also explain to us why there is this large segment of individuals and even many of our elected officials who deny humanity's role in climate change.
Well, there seems to be a general presumption in this country, one that has existed for some time, that cutting carbon emissions would be, 1, difficult if not impossible, 2, would disrupt the economy, and would put us at a disadvantage in competing in the world economy. It turns out that there's no foundation for any of those comments, and what we've seen in the last 2 years, that is 2008 and 2009, is a reduction in the United States in carbon emissions of 9%. Now, partly this is the result of the recession, of course, but partly it's because of gains in efficiency and also quite a bit of new power coming online that's carbon-free. 8,400 megawatts of wind generating capacity coming online, which is has no carbon emissions at all. So there are things happening. Now, one of the difficulties in formulating the problem is that some people don't have the science background, though it doesn't take all that much. I think junior high school science class is enough to help one understand the greenhouse gas effect and what it translates into. I mean, it's basic physics, but there's a real reluctance to face the issue in a meaningful way. And when you look around the world at what's happening, and you realize how fast ice is melting, for example, you begin to see that the seeds of some catastrophic climate change. It's interesting in looking at ice melting, for example, or the relationship specifically between ice melting and food security. We know that the Greenland ice sheet is melting. We know that if it melts entirely, it will raise sea level by 23 feet. I mean, imagine what the world's maps would look like and where the coastlines would be if the Greenland ice sheet were to melt entirely. That would probably take 2 or 3 centuries for that to happen, but it clearly can happen if we stay on course. And so we're seeing two things now. We're seeing the melting of the Greenland ice sheet, and we're seeing it melting at an accelerating rate. Now,